Hello, I'm Josh Gauthier, and I am here with my co-organizer Claire Guyton from Local Writers Read. And for this month's art walk video, we have our guest Michelle Menting. For those who don't know, Local Writers Read is a literary series that we started in 2018, spotlighting Maine writers. Claire, do you want to talk a little bit more about our spotlight today?
Absolutely. So we are back with another spotlight on last year's Maine Literary Award finalists and winners of the various short works categories. Michelle is going to share some of the work that made her a finalist in the short works competition in poetry. Whenever you're ready, Michelle.
Thank you. Okay, I will start with the first poem, which is titled Cross-Stitched and Popping. 1. The bobbled squawk of turkeys now outside, juveniles full of pomp and bop, unsure why they do what they do, like teenagers bussing for stature. 2. Bramble ditch of raspberries growing on our road years ago. My sisters and I sprouting emerald kiss blossoms from the pricks of thorns, all of us picking, filling colanders with baubles seeping red. 3. The last cut of devil's cake, layered to a decadent notch, but dry, crumbling, frosting black as death. 4. Mason jars simmering, the ones our mother sets in the pot, readying for raspberry jam. Me, small wiry child, moving too quickly, learning too slowly. By my teenage years, our mother will be gone. 5. Skis above snow, above ice, above dormant lake that waits for waves. 6. Breath stuck in a thick of June humidity. Siblings at a funeral, a density of sisters. All words choked in the throat, swallowed, heat sealed. Our hearts, baubles seeping red. The second poem is titled Ode to the Poster of Reptiles and Amphibians on the Exam Room Wall at the Animal Clinic on South Street, with thanks to Ted Kuser. It shows no judgment. With its smears of Novosan solution and earwax globs, aqua blue splotched by brown, covering the spines of lava lizards, it doesn't say, how do you stay furless in Nebraskan winters where the wind would blow your scales? No, none of that. When the Pekingese in the room next door yelps out its thermometer probe, I swear the tattered tip of poster flicks up a salamander's several eyelids. Distraction for sure, while the tech inserts the needle above the torty's paw, while the muse so faint, slow to acceptance, while I stroke her fur and we both forget the winter outside, this place we've come to, this place today together will forever depart. This next poem is titled Breathing Room. My mother was buoyant. In water, she was afloat supreme, held no shame in the folds of her body. She let me climb atop her one piece, the suit with straps that would slip off her shoulders ashore. But in the depths of lakes, they'd rise, U-shaped twin halos, paralleling her neck. This was but one part of her holiness. Just beneath her collarbone, right above her breast, I'd hug, careful, and only after ample practice to leave space between my arms, her soft skin, breathing room. And we'd dive, we'd submarine. With smooth wing moves, we'd wave beneath the surface. Below, minnows, pondweed, wild celery, the one bass nest. She'd point out the bladderwort, and I'd hold it in no longer. I'd break our stream of gloss with bubbles of underwater snickering. Remembering the names of plants and fish was for the surface. Once, on the lake's horizon, we'd dip below again, sink in the fluid silence. Submerged, our bodies turn vessel of one on a single gulp of air. And this last poem is titled Sun Glint. Make no mistake, I'm aware of indifference. I'm a master ghoster myself. I can fade like pool mirages on heat-struck highways. Come closer, I recede. Let this summer night we share unsheltered, drifting past the harbor's inlet, towards this river's oxbow, this nocturne full of indecision, of weather, of rippled and silvered sea, of where we glide to next, be our truce. This is how we are, fostering both shadows and mirrors in our depths, the great center of us. When we canoe this river's length, how different are we from two grebes skimming, searching below the surface to satiate a hunger they can't within one dusk fulfill. How different do we want to be? Thank you.
Thank you. Those were all so wonderful. For our first question, I want to focus on the first one specifically, which had such a lovely series of images. And do you mind just talking a little bit about the inspiration and how that one came to be?
Yeah, I grew up in a large family of many sisters. I'm the youngest of 12, and my mother, my only parent, passed away when I was a teenager, and it's always been difficult to write about, but I think writing this poem was actually very therapeutic, and writing about all the events of the seasons, I think, helped with the writing of the poem as well, and absorbing those memories and sharing those memories. So.
There I go, not unmuting. I always have to do that once in our videos. It works so beautifully, Michelle. I love that poem, and thank you so much for gracing us with your work today. I wonder if you can recommend a favorite poem that our listeners can find online, and tell us what you like so much about it.
Yes, definitely. There's a poem that struck me. I came across it a few months ago, and it's by the poet Corey Williamson. And the title is The Pleasuring Ground, or This Week in Animal News. And it can be found on the poetry website versedaily.org. And it's such a powerful poem that I think it really needs to be read and thought about in one sitting. But I want to read just the epigraph that appears below the title. The number of D, which is D-E-E, suffixes used at the end of the call denotes the size of the threat. The more D's, the bigger the threat. So if you hear the call chickadee-dee, that means a smaller threat than if you hear chickadee-dee-dee-dee. Of course, the threat is from the perspective of a chickadee.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Let me just repeat that information for our listeners. The poem Michelle's recommending is The Pleasuring Ground, or This Week in Animal News, which is a terrific title. It's by Corey Williamson, and it's at versedaily.org. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Yes, and thank you for sharing with us today. And as always, we want to thank LA Arts as well for giving us the opportunity to continue participating in these virtual art walks. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. Be sure to check out the other videos that they have posted. And we'll be back next month with another video.